evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the work session of the Mayor and Council for Tuesday, June 11, 2019. Everyone, please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Mr. Chakowski, please lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act by notification on December 21st of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of same on the Municipal Bulletin Board and Borough website and filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastigue. Here. Councilman Canigo.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis does not require notice. Councilman Gaudetier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman. Here. Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mignon.
Present. Now, motion, please, to approve Resolution 19-215 to go into closed session and exclude the public for the following issues. Closed session docket 19-6/11-1, discussion with Brian Chakowski, Esquire, regarding potential litigation, historic preservation, and closed session docket number 19-6/11-2, again with Mr. Chakowski, potential litigation regarding COA. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're in close. We'll call again, please.
Councilwoman Bastigue. Here. Councilman Canigo.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis does not require notice. Councilman Gaudetier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman. Here. Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mignon.
Present. Okay, so we're up to Borough Administrator topics.
Yes, Mayor and
Folio.
Council. I have submitted a written report that's in your packet. I certainly will answer any questions that you may have on that. My next item that I have under my agenda deals with our last council meeting. There was some conversations regarding finding a home for a potential shed for the Boy Scouts. Jason, myself, and Carolyn had several discussions regarding this. If you look at the picture that I gave to you, the idea that we came up with, there's an ad that's there over at KGV. The thought process was that half of that pad be allocated towards the Boy Scout shed, and the other half remain empty because there are sometimes spectators that sit in chairs and watch the game from that purview. So that's where we're at today. That's what we came up with. I wanted to share that information with you and get some further guidance.
Next question.
Sure.
There's already a shed down here. There's a shed over there. Why can't we just put it next to that shed? I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, but that's not a good spot. That's where everybody sits and watches the games. We need that spot open.
There's also, so where Dario's suggesting, I had took pictures this afternoon down there. There's a gate that opens, a truck can back in there. I understand in the two major floods we've had, there's been very to no water damage in that shed. I would echo Councilman Canigo's concerns and recommend that we move it.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
I have pictures if anybody wants to see what that spot would look like.
Sounds like a good idea.
If you just scroll forward. If you just keep scrolling, you can see there's ample space. We may have to put a pad down, but because this will really, even half will obstruct the spectator view.
Yeah, no, we've got plenty of room back by the
Yeah, they're not looking for a huge.
It could be also on the other side of the firing range. There's a wall back there. I mean,
But the access through that gate also makes it appealing.
Take the picture back. I scrolled by accident. I'm sorry.
What are you looking at? Oh, no, other pictures there. Oh, my other pictures?
I scrolled too far.
My daughter's Irish step dancer stuff?
From what Jason told me, that half of this during a storm, that flood comes up and kind of takes out up that. The flood goes all the way into the field.
But my understanding is that the users of the shed that's behind there now have not had major water damage.
We'll tell
And they can
them
just move their stuff.
that it has to be a waterproof
Yeah.
shed.
Well, let's
And
pick up
lift
on
it
some
over.
rocks, and that'd be
Right.
fine.
I'm thinking right behind the wall of the firing range, there's the wooden fence wall. There's a great big space there that's just not utilized. It could probably go there with a platform.
There's also space adjacent to that shed.
Yeah, there's also space
Yeah, they could bring
adjacent to
it
the
there.
shed. The only thing I would say about the space adjacent to the shed is sometimes there's families and kids who watch, be spectating from that side of it. But, I mean, I'm not adverse to either. I'm just saying there's plenty of room back there either way, the next to the firing range.
Gary, I thought you were pointing over here.
No, no, down.
Yeah.
You're talking about over
down
here.
But it looks like there's a field right there. So we're obstructing more of the view of the field.
No, not what we're talking about.
Yeah, but there's a shed already there.
Yep.
You just add another small shed, you're not going to be objecting your view like you would
Yeah.
be if you put it on this pad.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to see it, Michelle?
Sure.
After the
You
meeting,
did
if
get feedback from,
you want to just go take a
people
look
who
at
use
it after the meeting, the men are playing softball tonight, so it's all well lit, so you can go down and see where the sheds are.
It was attractive to be able to back a truck in to that spot anyway, to load up Boy Scout gear and what have you.
Yeah, make it nice and easy for them.
So you guys are all okay with that? I'll notify the Boy Scouts. Okay. Mayor, the only other thing that I have...
Wait. Did we speak to Rick about this, and did we speak to any of the...
I spoke with Jimmy Tian, who's spoken with women's softball and men's softball and big baseball, and they would support moving it to that spot. Big baseball.
Big baseball. The only other item that I have, I received a notice from our recreation director, request to hang a banner, hang the 4th of July banner. Typically, you guys do this by resolution, but since it's on June 14th, that she wants to put the banner up timing-wise, without objection, I'm going to go ahead and approve the hanging of that banner.
No problem.
Mayor and Council, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion, Councilman Gordia.
Yes, as you all know, I received an email from a resident requesting that we enact a plastic ban ordinance. What I would like to do is possibly explore the possibility of that and possibly talk to some of the stakeholders in town, such as the Green Team, maybe the Environmental Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, and see what everyone thinks of that idea.
What exactly would the ordinance entail?
Well, that would be up to us, obviously. You know, I know other
What is it that
towns
we're being asked to do?
Ban bags.
ban it.
From where? From homes, from?
No,
No,
Businesses.
from
retail
businesses,
stores.
Retail stores.
There are exceptions, though, in many of the ordinances that are
Right.
published throughout the United States. For instance, it would be a one-use bag ban that's occurred most... I'm not saying I'm for or against it, I'm just giving information.
No, I appreciate that.
One-use bag moratorium, but that would exclude bags that you would use for meat. So, you know, whenever you go up to a meat counter, there are always bags there.
And vegetables.
It would exclude vegetable bags. There are several other exclusions, such as the bags that you might sell to pick up dog waste and things like that. But again, that would be, if there was interest and if we got to the point where we're writing the ordinance, we would then consider certain exclusions for health reasons.
If we are to consider it, I would certainly ask Mr. Sarlo to do an analysis of the bans the local municipalities are looking at or have enacted, because I know Glen Rocks is very different from what Paramus is doing versus other municipalities. There's a lot of nuances, so I'd like to see an analysis. I also thought what you sent around, Councilman Kaufman, was really interesting about the pros and cons.
Yeah.
And
And
the single use might actually be the best alternative to everything else available.
Right.
Yep.
Which sounds contrary to
It is,
what we're
and
trying
even-
to do. I'd like to consider a way to, like, recycle those plastic film like we did with Trex. We collected 700 pounds of plastic bag, because there are opportunities to recycle that at ShopRite or Whole Foods, and I'd like to think about ways we can educate the public about that as well.
I think that's better than trying to put another restriction on businesses operating.
I mean, like the practical reality of this is not Paramus, so we don't have multiple supermarkets and,
Right.
so like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the two
CVS
7-Elevens
and Dunkin'
CVS.
Donuts and...
You're talking about the diner, you're talking about all the other restaurants, use.
I mean, if we can engage the Chamber of Commerce to work with our businesses to either do reusable bags or, incentivize residents to bring a bag in to take their takeout food or something like that, I'd like to look at those options as well, in addition to seeing what Mr. Sarlo comes up with.
It's just gonna raise, we're not open to the public right now, where it's just to pass the cost on to the people anyway, whatever they're gonna incur.
I tried to
The
find
chamber
out.
was not in favor of the first time when this came up.
But they might be
They might be
willing
in
to
other incentives, yes.
incentivize people to
Yes,
bring
but
their...
not a blanket
Bring their own bags
restriction.
in.
I like what we did with the trash program. I think, that kind of isolation of the issue and dealing with the issue, I think is better, honestly. But, I'll listen to whatever's presented, certainly.
I tried to find a really good comprehensive assessment of what everyone has done around the world, because there are a lot of different bans and taxes around the world, and there is no, one really good analysis of everything that's happened. I didn't even know with the reusable bags, you're supposed to wash them once a week, or you could have bacteria growing.
Yep.
And I don't think people know that.
Well, if you had a reusable bag and you went to a food store and you put, say, raw chicken in there,
Yeah.
and, it leaked into the bag, well, over 70% of all raw chicken is contaminated with bacteria called Campylobacter jejuni. So therefore, there's a better chance than not that that bag would be contaminated.
What's that called again for the minutes?
Okay, well, all right, so this will be something that'll be subject to further discussions.
You want me to continue to keep it on the workshop agenda as a discussion item? Or do you want to wait till...
Yeah,
we've
let's
gotten more-
wait till we
then I'll
get
put
some
it
more
back on.
information.
Okay.
Dog barking ordinance?
The council had asked Mr. Sarlo to prepare an analysis of our noise ordinance as it pertains to dog barking, because we had an instance or two, specific instance or two in the borough where there was resident complaints about habitual dog barking. So he did that. It was included in your packet. He also analyzed some like municipalities and some of their ordinances that differ from ours that I was hoping we would consider this evening as to whether or not we may want to modify our existing noise ordinance to make it more enforceable when it comes to dog barking. I particularly was interested in his analysis of Clifton. I think, Councilman Papaleo, you had as well.
I recommended that.
That may be something we might want to consider that would make it more enforceable, but not be prohibitive for those residents that have dogs. So I'd like to see what the council thinks.
I thought Clifton looked good.
For the benefit of the public, perhaps I should just read it, because I don't think the public has access. So the language from Clifton is, "No person shall permit or cause any dog or other animal in his or her custody, control, or ownership to be left outdoors if the dog or other animal engages in periods of sustained barking, howling, crying, or other loud noises for any period of 15 consecutive minutes or more, which would cause an objectively unreasonable disturbance to the quiet of any person or persons residing in the vicinity of the dog or other animal." I know the instance that's come up several times that the police have been involved with, this would address that,
Well, we would still have an enforcement issue in terms of
of course.
setting time, like a 15-minute time limit, and
Of
was it
course.
continuous, was it not continuous, and that's the weakness in all of these things.
But this addresses the leaving outside
Yes.
and barking for more than 15 minutes, which I think is something that the neighbors in this situation would be pleased to see.
My only thought is that 15 minutes is very restrictive.
15 minutes is a very long time.
Yeah, but I could leave my dog outside by mistake, which I've done a couple of times, and go walk my kids to school, which takes me 20, 25 minutes. And the dog will bark possibly for that time.
So would you recommend 30 minutes, 25
I
minutes?
mean, I would say 30 minutes is a little more reasonable. I think 15 minutes gets, I mean, I just think from a practical standpoint, there's plenty of dogs in my neighborhood.
See,
that bark.
yeah, but,
I would
they don't-
object to that.
but the minutes only refer to if the dog is making noise.
Consecutive, for 15
Yeah,
consecutive
so-
The dog's
minutes.
just out there.
So the dog could be out there forever as long as...
No, I understand that.
Yeah, so-
I get
so
it.
15
I
minutes
still
is-
think 15 minutes is very
Of
restrictive.
continuous barking, I don't know if you're gonna get, I don't know, it's gonna be hard to enforce in any way. It's just gonna give at least some
Well, that's
some
exactly
parameter
it.
for someone to make...
It's gonna be hard to enforce,
Well-
and then you're gonna have, like, everybody at the 15-minute mark. 30-minute is a little more realistic. That's where, like, in my opinion, that's where the music lies.
See, I truly believe that our police department, if they got a call, they could respond within 15 minutes. I know that they have.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I don't think 15 minutes is too short.
nor do I. And
or
I
too
feel,
long, yeah.
I mean, I've owned dogs my whole life. Since I was a kid, we've had a dog. If you let your dog outside and it's barking, that's on you, not on your neighbors. But what you've just done is impose your lack of ownership, responsible ownership of your dog on your neighbors, and that's just wrong. It's not fair. And 15 minutes to someone means they have to close their windows. They have to turn off the TV. And if you have a neighbor who works at night, like a police officer or a nurse or a physician or any of the other number of professions, that 15 minutes is a tremendous disturbance to their rest. I think 15 minutes is a fair amount of time. I think 50 minutes is a substantial disturbance to a neighbor. I do understand that we may all forget from time to time, but as the mayor pointed out, this ordinance, as in all ordinances in regards to noise ordinances, are hard to enforce the first time it occurs, the second time it occurs, the third time it occurs. But if there are 4, 5, 6 times by the time it gets to the municipal judge, I don't think it's going to be that hard to enforce. I mean, the police will certainly have records. The neighbors can be called in as witnesses. And I think we need to do something for our residents, because a yapping dog, especially one outside, is bad for the dog and it's bad for the neighbors. And I think 15 minutes is a reasonable amount of time in the ordinance. But that's just my opinion.
And as far as the enforcement goes, you would have to basically be there for 15 minutes while the dog was barking.
Well, the neighbors would also act as witnesses. The complaint would come in.
From an enforcement angle, I think you know, if you were to write a summons for this ordinance, if you stood there for 15 minutes while the dog barked and timed it, you would have a much better argument in court.
I agree. But again, it says sustained barking.
Right.
So if the dog stops barking for 30 seconds,
Right.
you say, I mean, you know, you can get into the minutia and the absurdity of it.
Right.
It's more to let people know, hey, you have a 15-minute window, you shouldn't let your dog be barking. I think it's more about the threat, per se, rather than
That's
actually
goes to my
enforcing
point,
it.
and it's not really an enforceable ordinance.
Well, I don't think they are.
As
and that's
opposed to
what's
maybe
worse.
thinking about an ordinance that we could actually enforce and writing it in the right way, which might take a
So
little more
what
work.
do you?
Well,
Well, I don't know, I don't have necessarily the solution,
Because we-
but what I'm saying is that I don't, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think the 15-minute mark is the problem with the neighbors that you're referring to who have, this is a dog that is habitually out there for long stretches of time. So I think there's a lot of dogs that might bark for 15 minutes out there, but it's not a habitual thing and it doesn't bother the neighbors. It happens to everybody. I mean, maybe not you, Tom, but it does happen to other people that they leave the dog outside because they're running to get their kids from school or something like that. So, you know, I think just saying 15 minutes, it doesn't really give the police a real way of enforcing it, like Councilman Gautier said. Unless they're there actually timing it for 15 minutes, then it's probably going to get dismissed at any municipal level. And I think that maybe if we're worried about, you know, certain individuals who are letting their dogs out for long periods, the entire day or the entire night, then we should be crafting an ordinance that really takes care of that issue, and not just a blanket ordinance that says 15 minutes, the dog is outside, your neighbor can call the police, and the police is knocking at your door saying, your dog was outside for 15 minutes. I
But
think
if
that's-
you
that's
create an
incredibly restrictive.
ordinance that says all day or all night, now you're making the enforceability even more
That's not
difficult.
what I said that we should create. I said that we should craft an ordinance to deal with the problem, not a blanket ordinance to affect everybody when there isn't a widespread spread problem. It seems like there's a couple of pockets that this is a problem with, and it absolutely should be addressed by us. But whether this blanket ordinance is the way to do it, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we asked our borough attorney to research this, and this is research he came back with.
Okay. I got it.
Because there's been no good answer. I mean, the extreme ones, there's ordinances now where the towns are empowered to go and confiscate the dogs. You know, and that's on the books in some towns, and some towns have done it. You know, I don't think we're going to do that, but, you know, and I think you're correct in the fact that this is not widespread. It's a few things, and apparently, you know, some of these people just don't want to cooperate and be good neighbors. That's the reality, because the police have gone to some of these places and talked to these people, and the problem persists. So, you know, if people would just be a little more considerate, this wouldn't necessarily happen either. You may not have all been up here. We had the same issue with people mowing their lawns. We had people coming saying we should be putting restrictions on that. Leaf blowers. You remember, I'm going to probably hear. We had people coming in for that. Generators. People were complaining about generator noise. So, you know, they complained because the generators run for 15 or 20 minutes to test themselves. So we're going to wind up potentially getting those kind of people coming in too, saying now, well, you know what, they blow their leaves at 8 o'clock at night, and it's not for 20 minutes, and I can't go to sleep. I've had those complaints. So, you know, the general noise ordinance does need to be addressed, but again, it's something that's very subjective and very hard to enforce. And like our crazy one that requires 5 decibels at the property line is just, again, it's more like you're saying, just to have it on the books, to say you have it on the books. It doesn't really mean
Makes
anything.
sense, yeah.
But,
So, I would like to make a motion to include this language in our noise ordinance, and we would have to list that for a first reading.
I would like to second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda, we have one item to renew our contract with Valley Health Medical Services Group for drug and alcohol testing and administrative services. It's just a routine thing. But that's on for
It's not, yeah,
regular meeting.
yeah, it's on the very other.
I don't have a report, no information. Anybody have any unfinished business?
Was wondering if there was an update on when the John Lynch Memorial
Yeah.
was happening, because I know I've asked Rex to come up with an installation date for the bench.
Yeah. Jason has prepped the area. I'm trying to get the sign made,
Okay,
and I want to certainly get it done before the end of the month.
okay.
But I guess in deference to the DPW, it's most likely going to be something we're going to do during the day, so
Yeah.
they can be there.
That's
It's not gonna be-
Environmental was anxious to know when that was going to happen. Just 2 other things. I've gotten 2 residential questions from residents regarding what they're claiming was a newly passed requirement that surveys have to be 1 year old in order to issue permits for any construction work. And I don't recall that, and I'm wondering, is that a state requirement?
It typically,
It's costing them several $100s if they miss this
typically,
year.
you know, if 3 years is usually a standard, but if it's a house and you haven't, I mean, you're not changing the property lines, there's really no reason to.
I've had 2 residents say that they had to resurvey because they were told their survey was more than a year old and it's cost them several $100s.
And again, to me, I'd want to know what they were coming in for. If you're coming in for an addition or something, and you've had an addition, maybe they would want an updated survey if it didn't show that. If it's something for like a fence, no, I don't see it. Or a pool where it's a property line issue, I don't see why you would need a
Well,
survey.
in my case, it was a pool.
Yeah,
and
then I don't
there
see
was
why you
no
would need a survey,
change.
because the property lines don't change.
Several
It cost
$100s.
them more. I think it cost them more than $1,000 for that.
Yeah, no, it would. So,
There's information,
And
they're
they had
being
something-
told that it's something new we enacted that's
well, I know the
requiring
land use
them.
board did not enact that, so.
So,
I'll check
if we
with the
could just get
construction.
clear on what the guidelines are, to make sure we're not
No, because,
overcharging
I mean,
people.
we've let people come in with surveys that are 30 or 40 years old, but it's for like a property line issue, there's no reason to...
It didn't change, so.
So like in addition though, if you're looking for a coverage thing, or if you're looking for setbacks, and you may have had a modification that didn't show up on your original survey, then yeah, it would make sense to require
That
it.
makes
But
sense.
that would be the only time I would think so. And usually with a commercial, even commercial properties, we've used surveys that are decades old in some cases. There's no reason to make them go through
Changes.
Yeah, and then usually you either get the surveyor or the engineer to go on, give testimony that they went out, they verified there's no changes from the original conditions, and you can go with the survey. So, no, I don't, that's an unnecessary
We can
burden.
just get some guidance on what the,
Yep.
that'd be great. That's it, I'm good, thank you.
Unfinished business.
Got a couple. Ray, do we have an update on the crosswalks, those flashing signs? Anything happening with that?
Not as yet, we're just about to hit our 20-day of stop period.
Okay.
So we can get started on all the stuff on capital budget.
Traffic and safety, I brought up a mirror.
As a response, the chief emailed me today, I'll give you the answer. It's been taken care of.
And Cherry Hill, are we doing something for that drainage for the boys and the girls who are playing there now?
Spoke to Jason, we're going ahead and we're getting 2 loads of playground safety surfacing first. We're going to address that because our camp is opening in kind of the high time, and then we're switching gears. We already have the majority of the red fines associated with it. Once we deal with the mulch, then we're going to move on to addressing the backstops.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's new business though.
Oh,
not
any more unfinished business? New business.
Okay. I was asked by our recreation director, since there's no more, the July 4th committee kind of has no people on it, and the rec department is running July 4th on her own. She asked me to bring forward a name as Grand Marshal because it's our practice to affirm her for their recommendation. So the recommendation is former Mayor Peg Watkins, the Grand Marshal for this July 4th committee. I'm bringing that to the council for an affirmation or an affirmation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. No
We'll
opposed?
let her know.
Did we notify Karen, or would you like me to?
She was the first woman mayor of LaBridge, and she did serve 3 terms, and only one other mayor has served 3 terms, so she...
And she has, her name has been brought forward for many years.
Any other unfinished business? New business? Not motion open to public?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Open to the public for any questions, comments. Otherwise, we'll have 2 other opportunities during the regular meeting. Yes, Lou?
Lou Grasso, 172 Bossier Terrace. In regards to the shed with the Boy Scouts, is there a formal agreement that's going to be drawn where they can put the shed on the borough property, or it's just oral? Because I was...
First, we were investigating to find out if there is a possible location. We've looked at 5 different spots as of now, I would say. Once we go from there, we'll work out some type of an agreement that allows that.
Right,
As far as the
I was
whole
curious.
partners of the
Right,
town,
that's
as
what
far
it
as we're not responsible for any of the items associated with the shed, they'll have to supply us with a certificate of insurance, normal, kind of your standard operating procedures.
Right, that's what I was thinking, the hold harmless for
Yep.
vandalism or theft or flood or whatever the case. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Hi, Cindy Bequeath, 7457 7th Avenue. Hi, everybody. Hi. I wanted to address a couple of things that you mentioned already first, and then I'll come back up later. But you were talking about the dogs. So on our block, we have 2 dogs that sleep in their garage. They're in their garage, and then they have a doggy door to go out in the backyard. So they come and go at all hours of the day and hours of the night. And depending on what animals are out, they could go on, and there's nobody home, and they could go on for half an hour. So I'm now retired, so it doesn't bother me during the day, but when they go on at night, I could hear it, and I'm across the street 3 doors down, there's 2 dogs. And the police were called out twice because they kept getting out, and they had no way to close the gate, so we assisted one of the neighbors and daughters, and I went down to get the dog and carry it back because she was so scared. But I think if you're talking about problem dogs, different than what you mentioned, Councilman, of just letting your dog got out and it's barking. You know, we all have neighbors, and our neighbors know we have dogs. And I think that most of us would go to the neighbor and say, you know, your dog's been out a lot, before we would do something like call the police. I would imagine most people will do that, and we wouldn't use the ordinance unless we felt that there was no other recourse. I believe that most people are level-headed in our town enough to do that, and it's really more about, as you say, problem dogs. I'll just mention dogs.
The issue is we've had a couple of instances where that doesn't seem to be working with the neighbors.
Right, but what I'm
working
saying
with the
is,
neighbors, so.
you hope that that's
You would
what
hope,
it
yeah,
starts
that
with.
is our hope, but
But-
obviously in some cases it's not helping.
Right, and so I appreciate what Clifton folks are doing, and I understand, and I firmly believe 15 minutes is plenty if it's continuous. And for the police to come and wait another 15 minutes to listen to the dogs again, I don't know that that's something you need to, that needs to happen. I think you either trust the word of the person who called it in. That's what I would do, so. Regarding the plastic bags, I'm very happy we're looking into it. I've gone down to do a lot of the cleanups, you know, at River Edge, and the amount of plastic that comes out of that water is phenomenal. And anything we can do to stop that, including you could talk to my husband and ask him not to bag everything at the grocery store in a plastic bag, but we recycle ours. We take them up to Safeway, and if there was a better way to let people know about that, I think it would be wonderful, because we just have too much of that. So, may I ask later about the rec center? Would that be a more appropriate time?
Whatever you want.
Well, I just don't want to, are you going to be talking about it anymore?
No.
Okay. So, can you tell me where I could find, I mean, the map that's in the other room, is that the current proposal?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have an operations budget somewhere that can be looked at? How we're planning on staffing this?
We're not there yet.
Well-
The building's under design, that'll be part of that process.
You don't feel that's like putting the cart before the horse? So
No,
we don't have
we went through all this discussions before.
have you gotten something in the recreation department in determining how many people they expect to be in that building at one time, and how they're going to staff it? I mean, I think that makes a difference as to how you're going to plan the architectural plan of the building. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's, you know, you go to a CEO of a company.
The building layout is done, and the programming will come when we build it.
You don't feel that's backwards? Nobody here
No,
feels it's backwards?
you can't program something unless you know what space you have. So you
Well,
have the
but-
space, and then you need to program it.
Well, but we've already got So if I went to my CEO of my company and said, I want to do this project, he would make me go back and give him why I need to do it, what I'm putting in
And we went
place,
through
and all the steps.
We went through a whole 7 months of this, discussing why we're doing the project, how we approached the project, how it was sized, how it was laid out, and there's nothing different today than there was 3 or 4 months ago.
So when 3 or 4 months ago, one of the things I had asked was, are we going to get a list of the programs you want to put in there before River Edge? I know a lot of my.
We're not having a list of programs before something is built. We've talked about that ad nauseum.
I've talked to my neighbors, and we just don't understand. It seems very backwards for all of us that are in business.
Sorry, I mean, again, I'm not going to rehash 8 years of discussions on this.
Oh, you know something, that's really, okay.
You were here several times, and
I know that, and I asked
and you
to get-
expressed opinions for the building and against the building. We've laid out the program, we've laid out the plan.
But you
the
never said
construction
you
is
weren't
started.
going to do it. You never
Yes, we
said
did.
to
We
us that
voted.
you
You
weren't.
were here when we voted to bring the project to construction. That was done. The contract was bid, the contract was
Okay.
awarded.
You know what, Mayor,
So-
I don't need to stand here anymore. You can change the subject now.
I'm not changing the subject. I don't know what you're asking to do because there's nothing different. Do you want to say something, Councilman?
Actually, to the dog ordinance, I'm not against the dog ordinance, I just don't like the 15-minute. I think it's very restrictive, but I'm certainly for addressing the issue and doing something, and I just wanted to make that clear because it seemed to me that perhaps you took my statements as being against
Oh, no,
actually
not
doing
at all.
something, and that's not.
No, I did not know.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn work session and go into regular session?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Ready to go? Good evening, everyone. Calling the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of Mayor and Council for Tuesday, June 11, 2019. Everyone, please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Mr. Canigo, please lead us in pledge, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on December 21st of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of same on the municipal bulletin board and borough website, and filing notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastidt?
Here.
Councilman Canigo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis is out with prior notice. Councilman Gaudier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Here. Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mignon?
Present. We have multiple sets of minutes for review. Some are regular session, some are closed. I don't know if we had the opportunity to review the closed session minutes yet, or...
No, and just to remind council, because I believe some of you weren't on council, you're just approving them as written. We're going to go through years of closed session minutes to kind of get everything updated, realizing that some of you guys weren't here,
So they're in the packet, so you may just want to follow along and make sure that you're at a particular meeting. I'll do them individually.
But, I'm sorry, were you just suggesting that even if you weren't here, you would approve them?
The advice that we got from our counselor is that, yes, you're approving that these are the set of minutes, even though if you weren't here, because we've got to now have a record that these meetings actually occurred. So council has to go ahead and ultimately vote on that there was a set of minutes, even if they weren't here.
Because I was going to abstain on July 9th, but you're saying I don't abstain
If you were
anymore.
an elected official at that point in time, you wouldn't abstain. Because you were elected, you were here, you just weren't at that meeting, so you would abstain. But on the closed session meetings, were you here in 18?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so then you can obviously, you can weigh in, but, for example, if two of you weren't here, you can either abstain or just, we're voting to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but so my improvements as written if I wasn't here.
Yeah, how do you, I mean, I would just recommend that if you weren't here, you abstain. It's no different than when we do memorializations with the land use
Right.
board. If there's only one person who voted who was there, that counts. And everybody else doesn't
The
vote.
problem that you get into is that these go back.
But they can't, but if you weren't here, you can't even verify the meeting occurred. You're just going by what you read.
Yeah, I don't
so you
know if the meeting occurred.
Okay,
So-
fair enough. Well, let me get some clarification from Tom on that. how
Well,
what's
we could just go
that-
through it. I'm sure we have enough votes
Yeah, for the 18s.
for, yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
we
fine.
probably should be fine.
Yep.
So I just want, I'll go through them individually so we're clear. So, work session this is regular session. Approval of work session minutes of May 13, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Councilman Kaufman, you were
I
acting that.
abstained, yeah.
Approval of the regular session minutes of May 28th.
Wait, aren't you going to
Close
go in order,
I'm
May
going,
13th closed?
No, I'm going by the regular meetings first, then I'll do the closed sessions.
All right, hold on, let me separate.
May 28th was a regular meeting. I wasn't here, everybody else was, I believe. So,
I don't have May 28th in my packet.
Yeah, I don't even.
It's the third one.
yeah. Well, that's the closed session, not the regular session, but
Oh,
we got the regular session from Judy.
oh, right, she did, that was sent in an email, right?
Yeah.
Well, the ones I saw in the email, I see. It's
These are just
listed as
closed
closed, but it's really open.
No.
These are just
It was-
closed
these
that are
In
printed.
here, the open section we get in emails like we normally.
I already looked at them.
Yes.
Oh, I get it,
Yeah.
okay.
So, regular session of May 28th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to approve closed session minutes of May 13, 2019. Hold on here.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained?
I abstain.
Okay. Approval of the closed session minutes for May 28, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Motion to approve the closed session minutes of July 9th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
You were
No.
here? You were here?
That was July 9th? Hold on.
You were
Yes, you were here.
present.
You were here.
You were there.
Yep,
Yeah.
fine. Yep. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Hold on, we're doing July 9th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Abstain.
Motion to approve the closed session minutes of August 13th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Abstain.
opposed? Any abstained? One abstain. Motion to approve the closed session minutes of September 24th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
I abstain.
Motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of November 19th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
I abstain.
Motion to approve the closed session minutes of Monday, November 26th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
I
abstained?
abstain.
Motion to approve the closed session minutes for Monday, December 10th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
I abstain.
And motion to approve the closed session minutes of December 17th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I
Any
abstain.
any abstained? Okay, good. All right, motion open to the public for comments on any agenda item.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to the public for questions or comments regarding any specific agenda item. There'll be another opportunity to address the council at the end of the meeting. Seeing no one, motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Correspondence, Ray, is there any specific you wanted to discuss, or this is just for notification? So we have correspondence listed in the agenda. Copies will be available through the borough's clerk's office if any of the members of the public would like to read that. We also have filed monthly reports with the Historic Commission for May 2019, the Environmental Commission for May 2019. We have resolutions number 19-216 to 19-236 for consent. Would any member of council like for a separate vote or consideration any of those resolutions? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adopt those by consent.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Kaufman, please read and move Resolution 19-237, payment of the bills.
Whereas vouchers for the payments of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $461,277.26. Capital account, $74.75. Recreation account, $3,574.50. Animal welfare account, $20.40. Trust other account, $9,475.78. Open space account, $9,023.33. Trust to other developers account, $516.77. Be it further resolved that claims read and approved by the governing body at council meeting will be dated the day after the reading of those claims and will appear on the following bill list at the next public meeting of the mayor and council, at which time claims would be paid. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion open to the public.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Open to the public again. Any comments, questions? Motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments. Councilman on this side.
Okay. My husband Steve and I attended a going-away party recently for Rabbi Paul Jacobson from Temple Avodat Shalom, who is moving to Australia with his family. And I'm telling this story since many Avodat Shalom members live in River Edge, and the congregation can be seen as a microcosm of our town. His wife Lisa was telling us that they realize how lucky they are to have lived in River Edge for the last 6 years. And to paraphrase her, she said that the people in River Edge work hard for their money, pay their taxes, are involved with raising their kids, and contribute to good causes with their time. What holds for Temple Avenat Shalom is true for the town as a whole. People really do contribute their time here. We're so fortunate to have a volunteer ambulance corps and fire department and people participating on committees and helping with their kids' sports leagues. I think she was saying that we have our heads and hearts in the right place, and we know what really matters, and that is each other and our life together as a community.
Councilman Goyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting on June 4th, and they requested that a crosswalk be put in from the corners of Penny crossing Elm to the library. It was something that I said I would bring to the Mayor and Council, and that I thought we should consider, and they thought that with the site work starting to commence, that it could be a good safety measure. And
You could do that at the T intersection, so you can stripe it.
okay. So is that something that I would
We're
be?
just, I mean, Ray can bring it to Jason and the police, just make sure there's no other...
I'll bring it to traffic and safety.
And then
By law, there's one there anyway, by operational law, it's the intersection, so...
and then we make a motion.
Okay.
Okay.
There may be recommendations as to whether we stripe it on the north side or the south side, or
Right.
whatever, but that, we'll look for that.
They didn't seem to have a preference which one.
But there may be from the site, that's all,
Yeah.
what traffic safety and the police,
Sure.
if there's an issue with sight distance or turning or something like that.
Right.
I'm thinking
Thank you very much.
Councilman Papaleo?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate and thank the Beautification Committee for a great job that they've been doing beautifying the town, especially Borough Hall. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I mean, the tea roses by themselves are a nice touch. DPW, I'm in regular contact with Beautification. I'm in weekly contact with DPW and Shade Tree. Shade Tree is meeting next Thursday. I'd like to congratulate and thank Rabbi Jacobson for his service to the town. It's really, it's well noticed. A lot of people speak about the contributions of the rabbi and speak highly of him, and I'm sure he'll be strongly missed. I'd also like to congratulate and thank, we've had a short run, but it hasn't gone unnoticed, Mr. Fiorio, that you're doing a great job and you're working very hard. And I wanted to say publicly that thank you for all your efforts. That's it. Councilwoman Stevens.
I would like to congratulate the 5th graders who went through the LEAD program this year and thank our River Edge Police Department for their outstanding effort in keeping our children, and teaching our children how to make good choices. So it was a really nice graduation. The essays that were read by the 3 essay winners were really impressive, and I want to congratulate them and again thank the police department. Since we won't be here again, I'd like to just congratulate all of the graduates from Cherry Hill, from Roosevelt, those that are moving up to the high school, and from the Riverdale High School, and wish them well in their endeavors. I want to thank Beautification for putting the orange ribbons up for Gun Violence Awareness Month in June. I'd also like to thank Library Director Dara O'Connor for his Pride display at the library and putting our Pride Month proclamation, including that as part of his display. Remind everybody that notice has gone out about the July 3rd and 4th festivities in the borough, so there will be music in the park on July 3rd, and July 4th will be the parade beginning at 11 at Cherry Hill School with the Family Fun Fair afterwards. So everybody please participate. If there's anybody listening that's interested in being a sponsor, whether you're a business or a private citizen, you can contact Carolyn Valdonza at the Rec Department for more information about that. I look forward to seeing everybody on the 3rd and the 4th. And that's it. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Councilman Kaniga.
I'll keep it brief. Congratulations to everybody who's been mentioned. I echo everybody's congratulations and thanks. And that's it for council comments tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Rabbi Jacobson's going away already. Had other issues going on, but I have to say that I've enjoyed a very warm personal relationship with the rabbi since he's come, and particularly since I've been mayor. I've told him publicly, I've told him privately, he's been fantastic for taking efforts in leading interfaith effort or interfaith cooperation, interfaith dialogue in the town, and he's a wonderful person. His wife's a nice person, beautiful daughters. He will sorely be missed, and if I get a chance, I will invite him to the next council meeting so we can recognize him here also. So, yeah, I had failed to do that prior. I'll probably talk about this more at the next meeting, but Rabbi Jacobs is not the only one who'll be leaving River Edge. My family and I will be moving out of town, actually out of state, within the next month, and I will be submitting a resignation sometime between now and the middle of July. I don't know when that will be. The council is aware, Borough is aware, and I will give more public comment on that at the next meeting. But yeah, I'll save the comments for then. Anyway, anything else? I will.
As usual, if you want anything shredded or for us to get rid of, dispose properly, please leave it on the table, and we will take care of that.
Thank you for that.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned to June 20.
Would you like me to get these?